Welcome to Hoops Roundup with your host, Randy Silver, where we break down the biggest sports stories from our favorite game, basketball. Today we have NBA's new rules on resting star players explained. ESPN did a fantastic article going through all this, so we're going to break it down for you, line by line, rule by rule. Let's dive into it. They did this because there's a stigma in the NBA that star players don't play. So how do you combat that? You got to get them to play, of course. So they're using this via monetary fines to make players play by saying they can't get awards like MVP, All-NBA teams, which affect them financially, and other ways. So let's dive into it. The first NBA rule was implemented, PRP, in 2017-2018. Since 2017, teams have been prohibited from resting players, healthy players, for high-profile games and national televised games. If they did that, it would be a $100,000 fine, and it's happened. The new rules are going to be much more stringent, and these rules replace the rules that will go into effect starting this season. Under this policy, the team expected to be approved on Wednesday, which it was. Teams must comply with the below rules. So what are the rules? No more than one star player is unavailable for the same game. For example, Warriors have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. That means that only one of them could rest the game. Not all three of them could rest if they're healthy. Celtics have Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum. One of them has to play if they're healthy. Lakers have LeBron James, Anthony Davis. One of them has to play if they're healthy. What does constitute a star player? Someone who's made the All-Star team or All-NBA awards the past 3 seasons. Teams must ensure that star players are available for national TV and in-season tournament games. For example, if the Phoenix Suns host the Trailblazers on a Friday night, then Saturday they play on ABC, ESPN, against the Warriors in a national televised game, that means Devin Booker has to be able to play for the Warrior game. He cannot sit that out because the second of a back-to-back. The Lakers play on Nashville Tuesday and Friday. On Thursday, they don't. That means LeBron James, Anthony Davis have to play on Friday on national television. Number 3. Teams must maintain a balance between the number of one-game absences for a star player in home games and road games, with the preference of those absences that happen in home games. So, obviously at a home game, star players, if they sit out, fans who live in the area can see them potentially more in person. If you go to Charlotte, North Carolina, and you're the Warriors and you sit out, it'll be a full year before those players can play there again, and the fans can see them there. Last season, Steph, Klay, and Draymond all played at home against the Pacers. A couple days later, they played the Jazz. They missed that game. Under this rule, they would not be able to do that, and they would get fined. Number 4. Teams must refrain from any long-term shutdown or near shutdown when a star player stops participating in games or plays in the materially reduced role in circumstances affect the integrity of the game. So 2 examples of that. Last season, Bradley Beal did not play the last 10 games of the season. Knee soreness. Damian Lillard did not play the last 10 games of the season because Portland was not going to make the playoffs. Tried to tank for the best spot in the NBA draft. So that would not be allowed anymore. This would create a fine for the teams. Number 5. Teams must ensure that healthy players resting for a game are present visible to fans. If you're not playing, you got to be on the bench. Fans have to see you. You can't be in the back or not in the stadium for the game. If any of these rules are violated, there's a $250,000 fine for the second violation, a $100,000 fine for the first violation, and the third violation is a $1.25 million fine. A team will be fined $1 million more than the previous penalty for any violations beyond the third. So say there's 5 violations in the season, that would be a $4 or $5 million violation. Ouch. Why is the NBA doing this? It's pretty straightforward. Greater participation in the NBA's full 82-game regular season. Minimize multiple stars missing games the same game. Prioritize national television and season tournament games. That's what networks pay big money for. Improve fan and public perception. Promote compliance via rules and higher penalties. And why are they doing this, of course? The NBA has a new media deal coming out, or they're working on getting a new media deal in the next year or two. So they want to get the most bang for the buck in that media deal. And it's going to be stars playing and paying for it. And then 2, NBA is now having gambling, of course, coming in, gambling revenue. So star player not playing a game affects lines, affects the outcome of those games. So you want the star players playing. It'll increase people gambling with their gambling partners. because they know star players will be playing and they can bet on that. If you don't know if a star player is going to play or not, it's a tough bet to make. How's the NBA going to prevent teams from resting healthy players? We talked about this a little bit earlier. Let's dive into it. So to be eligible for an MVP, an All-NBA team, a Defensive Player of the Year, All Defensive Team, or Most Improved Player honors, you have to do one of these rules. And again, to win these awards, you have to either play 65 regular season games, or B, play in at least 62 regular season games, have suffered a season-ending injury, and played in at least 85% of regular season games played by his team prior to suffering that said injury. So 65 regular season games out of 82 is about like an 80% rate. 62 regular season games plus some add-ons. A player will be considered to have played in a regular season game if he played at least 20 minutes in such game, though he can count 2 games in which he fell short of 20 minutes toward the 65 if he played at least 15 minutes. So for most stars, not an issue. We're talking more bench players here, but bench players aren't going to be going for those awards most likely. Last season, or a couple seasons ago, Jrue Holiday played only 7 seconds in the season finale to get counted for a game credit. That gave him a reward in his contract for minutes played or games played. That would not fly here. He'd have to play at least 20 minutes. Last season, Jaren Jackson Jr., named Defensive Player of the Year, only played 63 games. He would not be eligible for that award because he did not play 65 games. So you can see how it would affect players, their ability to get financial gain, affect their ability to get awards, and that's what the NBA wants, and it will make players want to play and have to play. Teams play these players for longer so they can achieve their awards. So let's now dive a little bit more into the teams. In total, 25 teams and 50 players, nearly 11% of the league, are impacted by the new rules. 15 teams have multiple players who were named All-NBA or All-Star Game the previous 3 seasons. If the rule had been a factor in 2022-2023 season, 46 players would have been impacted. Here are all the players impacted to qualify as stars. It's everyone you can think of. Again, NBA All-Stars, all NBA teams. You can see right here as I scroll through. We don't need to name the names. If they're NBA star, most likely on this list. How will this change for 2024? If someone's now an all-star on this list, say someone coming into the league, a rookie, a tall rookie for the Spurs. What's his name? What's that guy's name? Let's think about it. Victor Wembanyama. If he becomes an all-star, then he's on this list. But hypothetically right now, he's not subject to these rules. So until he's an all-star, or he makes an All-NBA team in his first season, most likely be an All-Star next season based off his popularity, he could sit out back-to-back. He could sit out whatever. There will be no fines. So there you go. They're not letting rookies be part of this. Good for Victor if he needs to get some rest, but obviously we want him to play. The other thing as well, he would still be eligible for All-Rookie Team or Rookie of the Year because those are not part of the rules of awards you're not aware of. Same for Tyrese Maxey. He has not made an All-Star team yet, has not made an All-NBA team, so he's not classified as a star. If you were to make the All-Star game, then he would be a part of it. So number 6, what exceptions to these rules? There's very strict rules here. There's one little exception. It's based off of age and season, minutes played. The NBA will allow pre-approved designated back-to-back allowances for players who are 35 years old on opening night or have a career workload of 34,000 regular season minutes or 1,000 regular season playoff games combined. Not many people fit in those categories. If they fit in this category, then the team can write and say, hey, we want this person out of back-and-back. They have to give a week's notice, and the NBA can approve it. Star players who follow this, Chris Paul, Mike Conley, Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, DeMar DeRozan, James Harden. So Kevin Durant's on here twice. Interesting. So Lakers, for example, Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Anthony Davis would not be able to miss out on the game if they try to get approval for LeBron James because you can't have 2 star players missing out. So this means the Lakers have to be smart about how they potentially sit players out. Same for Clippers. The Clippers, Kawhi Leonard would sit out October 31st against Magic the night before they play Clippers on ESPN. He would have to get approval to be able to sit out. Paul George would have to play. The league has also listed several other exceptions to being granted, including personal reasons, rare and unusual circumstances, and the season flexibility, multiple absences from bona fide injury. So they will work with you a bit. More often than not, they're going to say you need to play. So we really talked about Victor because Victor is a rookie. He does not fall. He's an all-star All-NBA team, so he would still be able to win some awards. The teams who would have been the mostly affected last season, Nets rested their entire lineup on December 10th. That meant that they would get a massive fine without Durant playing, Irving playing, Simmons playing. We talked about the Golden State Warriors example. Clippers sat both Paul George and Kawhi Leonard on the back-to-back, so one of them would have had to play. Sixers had rested Joel and James the same game. One would have had to play. Bulls, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, one would have had to play. Mavericks, we know, were fined $750,000 on the season for sitting players to get into the top 10 of the draft, so they didn't have to give up their draft pick. What's stopping teams from listing players as hurt to avoid the perception that they're resting healthy players? That's a great question. One is integrity. They have physicians on each team who talk about what players' health and if they're good or bad. If the NBA thinks funny business is happening, then the NBA can get an independent doctor to review and make a decision. If the decision is not what the NBA is hoping for, obviously that means if they think the team is faking it, then the NBA can step in and get more information. What are teams saying? Teams are a bit concerned because they're using a lot more analytics as of late to be able to understand players' health and if they should be playing or not. So if they've been playing, say, 3 games on 4 days and they have to play national television game the day after, but the analytics and what research they're doing, the information they have on players, obviously they have them attached to all this data stuff. Why is the NBA unwilling to address the actual problem, which is regular season is too long? Now they're trying to find a way to fix that problem without addressing the real problem. It's about money. NBA is projecting $5.7 billion in revenue in 2023-2024. Reducing games would mean they would reduce the amount of revenue. That would be gates, broadcasting rights, sponsorships, etc., etc. So if you want money, you got to hold games to make money. NBA players would be mad to say, hey, take less money for less games. No, you give me the money I deserve. So now you have to figure out how to get players to play to achieve the revenue that you want. This is also something that the teams are fine, not the players. So it doesn't have to actually affect the players themselves, their monetary value. They only get affected by getting awards, which then would affect their monetary value because you can't be designated for award if you don't play enough games. So this was not negotiated in the CBA. So this is something that the NBA doesn't have to consult the Players Association about because it's not actually affecting the players day to day in their take home and what they're getting. You get extra take home based off of winning awards, so it's not something that is applied here. That is the NBA's new rules on resting star players explained. Comment your thoughts. Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea? We'd love to hear, so put them in down below. Thank you for watching Hoops Roundup today with your homie, your boy, your host, Randy Silver. We out here breaking down the biggest stories from the NBA. NBA is coming back in less than a month. We're so excited. So subscribe here and we'll keep you updated on all the news, scores, highlights, storylines, and more throughout the NBA season. We also have football roundup. We have MMA roundup. We have gridiron roundup. So much for you here at Randy Silver TV. Please subscribe. Thank you for watching. Out.